Hi guys, David Jennings here from davidjennings.com and also the SEO Method. Today I think I've lined up for you something that you probably haven't heard very often. I would consider who I've got on the line today as SEO royalty. I'll take you through a little bit of his back history to bring you up to speed with how he got to where he is now, and also I suppose how I got in touch with his stuff. Of course, talking about Leslie Rohde, and he started off as a software engineer back in 1974 and worked on fringe technologies, working for things like the defence and helping develop and fix up, I think it was the first portable GPS unit. Then he started to move into internet marketing around sort of 1998. And then started to, I suppose, really create a big presence. He was doing a lot of consulting and was one of the first people, if not the first person, to talk about link reputation. Everybody before that was all talking about link popularity, all about the numbers of links. But then Leslie came out and started to talk about the quality of those backlinks. He had a few bits of software that I think were probably the first most really analytical pieces of SEO software out there. There was SEO OptiLink and SEO Spider, and he's had, I suppose, a few claim to fames in this whole development of the SEO industry. He created dynamic linking and using no-follow structures to be able to page what's now known as PageRank sculpting. He was pretty much the first guy who developed that. I started following him when I started to keep an eye on Jeff Johnson many years ago now, over 4 or 5 years ago, and he, for me, at the time, he knew his SEO stuff, and I know he was paying for Leslie's time to come and speak to coaching clients and things like that, which showed me it's almost like Leslie is the guru's guru when it comes to SEO. So, Leslie, just like to welcome you to the call, and thanks for your time.
Well, thanks for having me, David. It's fabulous.
Excellent. Well, I'll jump straight in. The first thing I want to talk about, the reason I lined this call up, I know I'm really excited to meet you in person. You're coming down to Melbourne. Is that for the first time?
Yeah, that's true. Once many years ago, I traveled to New Zealand, but I did not have the opportunity to get over to Australia. So this is the first time I'll have been on that continent.
Excellent. And you're coming over for Ed's seminar. So I think in the tail end, I want to ask you a little bit, I suppose, to get a little bit of a teaser as to what you'll be talking about, and it'll be great to meet you in person.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But to dive into, I suppose, the real meat of this call, your strength obviously being SEO. I know it's a huge question to start with, but I'd like to get an idea of how you drive traffic when you first launch a new website. I don't know if you've got an example. Maybe we could draw on the SEO Brains Trust, which is something that you recently launched, or whether or not you've got another example. But take us through the process of what you do to, start driving traffic through SEO to a new site.
Oh, and to a very new site, that kind of limits the techniques a little bit. A lot of what I do is with existing sites, larger ones in particular, because a lot of my background is in e-commerce rather than the kind of the info product marketers, although I've done both. And so one of the things I'm really known for is how to make a site bigger and actually use that site size as a competitive weapon. Because assuming you get your pages indexed, and there are some tricks and traps there, building more content is probably the best single way to get more traffic, because you're actually dipping into the mid and long tail. And the other thing is PageRank sculpting, of course. You can actually, with more content, you can even attack the short tail very effectively. Now, this works primarily for like deep keyword pools, which most markets actually do have, even info product markets. Now, but the other dimension, you're right. I mean, if it's a brand new site, then you really have to do two things. One is you're developing content. That's important. Develop more pages. The other thing is you're going to have to get discovered, and you're going to have to get past some sort of, eclectic thresholding that Google seems to do about new sites. And that's so it becomes, in the beginning, you really do have to focus a lot of your efforts on what we would consider classical link building. Yes.
Yeah.
And then once at some point, then you become like part of the clique. You become suddenly trusted, and where that crossover is, nobody knows, outside of Google anyway. But as soon as you're trusted, then you can just build a bigger site, and you're suddenly in charge of your own destiny, and that's like a magic thing to have happen. But we can certainly talk about, what do we do for a new site? Because it is very different, new site versus aged site.
Perhaps even just like a little bit aged, so maybe they've just got over that sandboxing period, they've put some content up and got the site initially indexed, so the real basics are done. Where would you take a site from there?
Well, and again, it would depend a little bit on kind of life cycle. Even if they're getting well indexed and trafficked, coming to some of their major terms, there's a couple of different things and some ongoing processes I always recommend people do. And one is, and this is one of the things that Dan Thies and I go back and forth about keyword research. And Dan is focused on doing the really deep keyword analysis up front, even before you buy a domain. And what I do is I kind of eschew that. I'm his other half in many respects in that regard, is that I just look at the operating website, because it will throw off information which is more valuable than you can ever buy from any source. And so what I look to do in building traffic are two things. First, I want to see what traffic we're actually getting and what's happening to that traffic on the site. Because, ultimately it's not really about making traffic, right? It's about making money some way. And so I want to see what traffic do I really need, and then what's going to happen as you get more and better ranked and you get more traffic, the long tail discovers you. And this is one of those mindset things that I'll talk about, is that you don't actually go discover the long tail, because half of those are new searches anyway. Google doesn't even know about them.
Yeah.
Really what happens is you find keywords show up in your Google Analytics, and you go, oh, I hadn't thought about that one. Is that worthy of a page or not? And there are these trade-offs you have to do in building out a site. It also identifies things you might want to do articles around that you put into syndication. And that's kind of that piece where we're working on site, trying to really get the best profit from what we already have on our site and adjust our site appropriately. And then simultaneously, we're going to go do this off-site stuff. And so there are a couple different things going on. Within the site, we talk about optimization by addition, which is adding more content. Optimization by subtraction, which is guiding the content to the right pages so that it gets us the most money. And then off-site, which is two different things. One is indexation, actually getting spidered and indexed and get those trust factors in place. And that is also optimization by addition as well, because you're getting link reputation and page rank flowing into your site.